Nendifi Hulisani Ravele. I am a gifted broadcaster. My gift? To be a conduit of purposeful, powerful, and impactful conversations. Ones that create a safe space for us to learn about ourselves and others, to help shape us into more grounded and conscious individuals who move with purpose, tap into our power, and positively impact our lives. If you are ready and willing to have those conversations, pull up a chair. Welcome to Purpose Power Impact with Hulisani Ravele. My guest is award-winning broadcaster Keabetswe Bapela, near Motlokwa. We first met almost 10 years ago when I joined the Capricorn FM presenter lineup. Her multi-faceted being and life story have always left me intrigued and inspired. Welcome to our purposeful, powerful, and impactful conversation. Icebreaker. Why did you agree to come to this interview and this conversation?
I've always said to myself, when I do have the conversation about my story, I don't want it to be all over the place. I want the person that's carrying the story to be a person who is credible. I want to have a conversation that sits well with my spirit. And when you made the phone call and when we spoke about it, it felt right. It set on my spirit. And yeah.
Thank you for honoring that. Thank you for being honest with your spirit. And I'm grateful to be trusted to be a conduit of this conversation. And so the starting point for me is you've described yourself as, I'm just a girl with an explosive brain. With a million talents. Actually, you're just a girl with a million talents, an explosive brain, and who loves to travel, right? But where and when did the earth hear your first cry?
Sure. Let's take it back to the late 80s. 1987, 6 August, at Siloam Hospital when I was born, with a very rare heart condition. And I was given a very limited amount of time to be on this earth. And I've gone on to double that and added some more years on top of it. So that's when the earth had my first cry in that hospital. And it's been quite a journey ever since then.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about the heart condition that you were born with.
So I was born with a hole in my heart. Very small hole, could have been worse. But luckily enough, there were resources at the time to be able to manage that. So after I was born, I was in hospital for 6 full months. My mom was in hospital. She literally lived in hospital. And after 6 months, they handed me over to her and they said, let's leave it all in God's hands and let's see where this life goes. And here I am.
And the name Keabetswe, because there's Divazari. Anke ka khotsi fimini bathoni ndibavenda badamoni ndibone bapedi zwino dzina la Keabetswe libva gai la Tshivenda lione na
athina dzina la Tshivenda
Granny nisongori zwifela
Yo, this girl, she's bringing out the ID name.
Yeah, her other name ki Granny, let me tell you.
I don't have a Tshivenda name. My mom named me Keabetswe because she says she felt that I was, when I was born, I came at a time where she needed transformation and she didn't know exactly where that was going to come from. She was at a crossroad in her life. She didn't know what was happening. And she got pregnant with me under very difficult, conditions. And when I was born after a very difficult pregnancy and I made it and I cried and she said, Keabetswe, saying to herself that she has been given. But the name has gone on to mean so much to me because Keabetswe loosely translates to I am gifted, right? Which means there is a lot that has been put on your plate. There is, so yeah, it has gone on to define who I am. It has gone on to become something that I hold in very high regard. And if you follow me, Kya travela, kya ja, kya para. Yeah, everything really comes from my name.
It makes so much sense when you say that. And I never knew that that's what Keabetswe means, by the way.
and how you've just explained it leads so perfectly into what I wanted to talk about next, because you're the all-rounder to me. You are a broadcaster, you're a voiceover artist.
Yep.
We must also add award-winning there.
Yes,
please.
please.
There?
Please.
Let me respect this girl.
Yes, please.
You're an MC. You even dabble into styling for clothing.
Yeah.
Even hair.
Yep.
There's the food, gaja. You know, you enjoy preparing like proper meals and giving us that content. You are a strategist. I cannot forget that. You're a media and digital communication strategist. Then you're a mom. Then you're a wife. Then there's the rest of your life. And to someone, particularly from a career perspective, they would say, this girl seems like she's all over.
Yeah.
She's a lot. She's doing a lot. Ana focus. What's your perspective on all of the things that you do?
I made a very conscious decision from as early as I could remember that I am not going to waste any of my talents. At the end of my life, I want everybody to look at me and say, she really did everything she possibly could. And I said, there's a reason why I can do all these things. There's a reason why they come so easy to me, because funny enough, I'm actually an accountant by profession.
Wazipa.
I went and I studied a BCom for a good 4 years. And then I decided this is not going to work out. After a 3 months internship at one of the big fives, I was like, no, I'm not doing this to myself. And then I decided to follow, I
have known you for almost 8 years, 10 years.
Yeah,
we're going on to 10 years.
Yeah.
Nina Bikomo.
Yes. So so because of that, I grew up with a very big personality. I've always had a big personality, and I've always been very curious, to a point where I was one of the people that was termed ore kia papa. So it's always been this child wa papa, and I think that put a huge dent on me and on my spirit. And I've spent so much of my life trying to dim myself down, because every single thing that I did and excelled in was overshadowed by the fact that society termed me urgia papa. So
much.
I was an A student. I was a chess champion. I was the debate champion. And this is a girl that was in a rural school, right? And I was competing with kids that are going to multiracial schools. But every single thing I achieved from a very early age was always overshadowed by Oya Papa. So it was almost as if you're not really excellent. You just Oya Papa.
You're just forward.
Yes, you're forward.
What's the word? Hey, there's a big English word that we can use for it, but you're forward.
And that led to me spending so much of my early 20s and my late 20s trying to dim down my light, trying to not stand out, trying to not be the person that, when I walk into a room, people are like, oh, okay. Yeah, so I've spent so much of my life sitting in a little corner because I didn't want that to become my legacy. But somehow, even in that, it just... I couldn't hide. I couldn't hide because I believe that, where I am now is where God wanted me to be. And it doesn't matter what I was doing at the time. He always made sure that there's a spotlight that's shining on me. So,
and when you are meant to stand in something and it calls you, the light will be too bright to others, but for you, it will be just right.
Yes.
And that's what it is.
Absolutely.
And that's why you can stand in it. I need Dini. I committed a Porsche. It is just right. And what it has birthed for you is a 20-year radio career, which is absolutely incredible. And I honor that.
Oh, thank you.
You've gone from in front of the mic to behind the mic. And what happened as by chance, you are accompanying a relative or a friend to take something to their relative.
Yes.
They were taking money or something.
A friend of mine.
Yes, a friend of yours had taken money to a relative, Univeni.
Yes. First year of university in 2005. It's exam season. We're walking to an exam center with a friend of mine. Her brother worked at the campus radio station. So she says, me angabo something, and if I don't do it now, I'm gonna forget.
Arto.
Yeah. So we walk into the studio He's panicking. And I remember it was 3 minutes to 8 a.m. in the morning, and he's panicking. So I say, why are you panicking? Because I've always been a person who's forward.
So you're asking.
Yeah, so I'm like, so why are you panicking? He says, no, my newsreader didn't pitch, and news is going on at, the top of the hour. And I'm like, okay, so how does this news thing work? He's like, no, usually there's a reporter that writes the stories, and then, the newsreader just takes it and goes on air. I'm like, so where are the stories? He's like, I don't have them. I'm like, do you have a newspaper? He's like, yes. I'm like, give me the newspaper. Let me solve this thing for you. He's like, I'm going to get in trouble, but you speak well, so I'm going to trust you. So I go on air. I do a quick news bulletin. I move on with my life.
That you are reading from a newspaper on the fly.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, let me choose 3 stories that make sense. And that's how my radio career started. I get a call from another friend, says, listen, are you listening to Univan FM? I'm like, no, I'm not. There's an announcement, and the program's manager is looking for you. A lady that came in and did news for 3 minutes.
They made an announcement looking for you, Karadio.
Looking for me.
Wow.
So I went in there. I started working in the news department, but my dad was not very happy with that, so he put an end to it. And that's how my journey in radio started in 2005 at the University of Venda.
Look, when you say that your dad was not understanding it, right? For many of us, we can listen to that and say, parents were stifling our dreams and whatnot. And I think it's always important for our generation, and perhaps the generation that's following us, to always have empathy for our parents, because they grew up in a different time where these opportunities of you're going to be a radio broadcaster were not even an option. And I think making sure that we stay in school was for our safety and our safety in terms of career. And then maybe you can see all the rest.
Although Kia's father loved and admired the medium of radio, he didn't love the idea of his daughter being on it, as this would derail her bright future of being a chartered accountant. Years later, Kia would go from reporting on sports news to being a breakfast anchor and building a 20-year career.
So Kia, 20 years in the radio broadcasting industry, and you've done everything from being in front of the mic, behind the mic, strategy, client liaison. Listen, there's no part of radio that you have not touched and it hasn't, touched and impacted you. What would you say radio has taught you about life?
Sure. That is intense. That is intense. I think what it has taught me is everybody gets a highlight. Everybody gets 3 hours, right? But there is so much work that goes behind the highlight. There are so many mountains you climb behind the highlights. There's just a lot that goes into a highlight, and people get to just witness the highlight. And I feel like that's what our lives are, our lives just highlights to people that are looking on the outside. But what we go through, the work we put in, the challenges we overcome, the milestones we record, it doesn't all make it to the highlight. It's just the same as a radio show. There is, 5-6 topics that are suggested, and one makes it, into the broadcasted program. So for me, I always say, extend a bit of grace, because the highlight that you're watching is but just 3 hours.